Chamonix ski bum here, reporting from Passo Stelvio on the current ski conditions in late September and early October across the Alps. That's right, for a number of places, the winter 2025-2026 ski season has already begun. And for others, the ski season never finishes, you can ski year round. So here's a quick roundup of what's currently available skiing wise right now. Sadly, there is no longer an autumn ski season anywhere in France. The likes of Teens and Val d'Isère have finally given up the ghost of trying to maintain their glacier ski resorts through to the autumn. If you want to ski anywhere in France at the moment, your only option is off with the Guy de Midi. And there, they've had absolutely fantastic powder recently. There's been day after day of thigh-deep powder riding right off with Midi Arrête and down onto the upper part of the Vallée Blanche and Mer de Glace. Although, of course, you do then have to skin and climb back up after you've done your run. So it's only really worth it for those of us who live close by. It's definitely not worth travelling out here just to ski there yet. But it's been a great start up high on the Guy de Midi in terms of filling in the glacier for the start of the ski season. Moving across to Switzerland, and there's currently lift serve skiing available both in Saas-Fee and Zermatt on the Matterhorn Glacier Paradise. So Saas-Fee, their season runs from mid-July through to mid-April every year. So that's pretty much a 9-month season, snow conditions allowing. And Matterhorn Glacier Paradise in Zermatt, in theory, they're open 365 days a year. So you've tons of skiing available at both those areas throughout this portion of the season. A handful of other areas are also scheduled to start opening up throughout the autumn period. First of all, you have St Moritz from the Engadin Glacier opening from the 18th of October, and then after that there's Engelberg on the Titlis Glacier, which is due to open on the 24th of October. And finally, Glacier 3000 are scheduled to start their season from the 4th of November. And then here in Italy, we currently have skiing available at Val Snales, or Schnellstau. They've been open since the 19th of September. And then of course, the resort that's here behind me, Passo Stelvio. They're unique in the Alps in that they are a summer-only ski resort. So it's not the only resort open in summer, but it's the only resort which is only open in summer. The season here runs from typically mid-May through to the start of November. Scheduled to close on the 2nd of November here this year. So yeah, it's a pretty unique place to come, and right now the conditions are pretty great. And then last but not least, we have Austria, which is the home of autumn skiing. So currently there are 3 resorts open: Pitztal, Soldern and Hintertux. Pitztal opened on the 27th of September, Soldern had been open since around about mid-September. Hintertux in theory is another year-round ski resort, although this year they did actually have to close in August due to the 2 big heat waves we had this summer, but they managed to reopen again a week or so ago, and they've got probably the most skiing available of anywhere in the Alps right now up at Hintertux. And then by mid-October, Austria will have a further 4 resorts open. So on the weekend on the 2nd and 3rd of October, both Kuhnetal and Stubai Glacier are due to open. And then following weekend, around about the 10th and 11th of October, both Moltal and Kitzsteinhorn are due to open and start the seasons for the winter 2025-2026 as well. So by that point, Austria, and in particular the Austrian Tyrol, will likely have a higher concentration of open pistes and runs than anywhere else in the world, even the southern hemisphere. So if you want to go skiing in October, Austria is the place to be, really. As for the snow conditions on the ski areas which are currently open, last week we had between 50 centimetres and a metre of snow virtually everywhere in the Alps up at altitude. So of course that's meant that the snow conditions both on and off piste have been absolutely phenomenal for these last few days. That's the same everywhere. But in terms of base depth, Saas-Fee are reporting a depth of 140 centimetres with 11 out of 23 lifts open, although of course that includes a number of tourist lifts. Most of those are not actually ski lift infrastructure yet. I expect there's probably 4 or 5 lifts directly accessing the skiing available there at the moment. Zermatt and the Matterhorn Glacial Paradise, they're reporting a base depth of 120 centimetres, with 4 out of 5 of the drag lifts up on the glacier currently running. In Austria, Hintertux reporting a base depth of 25 centimetres, with 10 lifts running, giving access to over 15 kilometres of pistes. Soldern are reporting a whopping 246 centimetres to their base depth, but either there's a bit of a typo there, a misplaced decimal point, or they're just measuring their base depth differently, because that just seems completely out of kilt with everywhere else. But in terms of pistes that are currently open, it's only the two big gondolas on the Rattenbach Glacier side. The Tiefenbach Glacier area is not yet open. And over at Pitztal, it's currently only the Wildspitzbahn open, which is the main gondola, the big gondola that goes all the way up to the top. Currently that only gives access to one run, which granted is a very long run, over 2.5 kilometers long, but there's not a huge amount of terrain on offer there at the moment. Although I'm sure they'll be trying to open up the secondary glacial basin with the T-bars relatively soon, because they must have enough snow there now to do that. Here in Italy, Valsenales are reporting a base depth of 28 centimeters, but there's currently only one skiable lift open, the Grauwand chairlift, which gives access to 3 pistes, 2 red and 1 blue. So it's incredibly limited skiing there at the moment. Each run is less than a kilometre and the total vertical is only 200 metres, so very, very limited skiing there at the moment. Really not worth it unless you happen to live close by and you're race training. And here at the Passo Stelvio, I don't know officially what the base depth is because their website's pretty poor, so the information isn't very up to date, but there's tons of ski area available here. It is a vast area, though unfortunately if you're not ski racing, you only got relatively limited area that you can access. Just the 2 pomas right at the top with the runs either side of those. There's currently no lift on the front side of the mountain. They're replacing the T-bar. They're supposed to have done it by now, but they haven't. So access from the top of the second cable car up over towards the pomas is currently by Snowcat. Well, yes, you can lap those pistes as well. It's a bit of a faff having to wait for the Snowcat to do that. So realistically, if you're up here skiing not as a ski racer, you're just going to be staying up at the top 2 pomas. But again, you can then ski all the way down to the mid station, so the top of the first cable car at the end of the day. And in theory, again, you can do mid station laps using the second cable car. But again, it's probably not worth it coming down this way to do that. You're better off spending a whole day up at the top. But I might see if they let me do a couple of the laps now after the top lifts have closed. Most, if not all of the ski areas which are currently open are only offering morning skiing at the moment. So typically open around about 7 AM, maybe 7:30, and lifts run until about 12:30, maybe 1 o'clock if you're lucky. Although the first day I had up here at Valsenales, I was skiing until 2 PM. I don't know if I was supposed to be, but no one kicked me off, so I just kept going and going. Whereas today, they kicked me off about 12:45. So in theory, it should have closed 12:30, so yeah. It's kind of frustrating, especially when the snow is like this. I can understand shutting at lunchtime in middle of July, but it's September now. Indeed, it's the end of September. Even if the temperatures are quite warm, the sun is getting low in the sky now and all these areas are north facing, so the sun's not hitting the snow at any great strength, even on a relatively warm day. So in terms of safety, it's perfectly safe to be skiing into the afternoon now, especially after the big dump of snow that we had last week. So yeah, it is a little bit frustrating if you are planning to come on skiing right now, the lack of time basically that you can have on the mountain, but it is still worth it, especially here. Passo Stelvio and Hintertux as well was probably definitely worth it. I really wouldn't recommend Valsenales at the moment. That was pretty disappointing. Pitztal is great, but it's not worth it really with just the one lift running at the moment. But once they've got slightly more terrain open, in a week or so's time I expect, then Pitztal is an amazing resort for autumn skiing. I really loved it there last year. And of course, if you're into your ski racing, the first World Cup of the season will be in Solden, usually around the end of October, so they'll be gearing up for that pretty soon too. So there you have it. There's a roundup of all the piste skiing that's currently available in the Alps. It still is pretty limited at the moment, but give it another couple of weeks, there'll be much more available. So if you're wanting your autumn ski fix, then by mid-October, you're definitely going to have a lot more to go at. In terms of the snow we've had so far, it's been a pretty cold, wet autumn. There's been no sign of the Indian summer that we often get. So conditions are pretty good right now. The glaciers are well filled in, so it's definitely looking good for the rest of this autumn season so far. And if you're new to this channel, I run a weekly snow report based in Chamonix throughout the entire ski season, from whenever that starts up, usually end of November, early December, right through until the start of May really. So if you're interested in finding out about the conditions, particularly in the Western Alps, but in general throughout the Alps, I'd highly recommend tuning in for that. Of course, the best way to do that is to subscribe and hit that notification button so that you don't miss any of the videos. And for those of you who are already subscribed, my regular viewers, I look forward to seeing you all again at the start of winter. Ciao!